Imagine this for a moment. You wake up one morning full of energy and determination. You've made a firm decision to finally pursue that long-held dream, that burning desire that has been simmering within you for years. Perhaps it's starting your own business, writing a book, or achieving a significant fitness goal. Whatever it may be, you can feel the fire igniting inside, fueling you with unstoppable motivation. So you dive in head first, pouring your heart and soul into this newfound pursuit. The initial days and weeks are electric, filled with progress and small wins that further stoke the flames of your ambition. You can taste the sweet nectar of success, and it only intensifies your hunger. But then something starts to shift. The novelty wears off, and the daily grind begins to weigh heavily upon you. Obstacles emerge, seemingly out of nowhere, testing your resolve and challenging your commitment. The initial burst of enthusiasm slowly withers, replaced by doubts and second guessing. Can anyone relate to this experience? I see some nodding heads out there. It's a scenario that plays out all too often, isn't it? We start with such fervor and determination, only to find ourselves gradually losing steam, watching our dreams and goals slip further and further away. Let me share a personal story that might resonate. A few years back, I decided to finally tackle a lifelong goal of writing a book. I had always dreamed of holding my own published work in my hands, but that dream had remained firmly planted in the realm of fantasy for far too long. This time, I was determined to make it a reality. The first few months were incredible. I woke up early, sacrificing sleep and leisure time to pour words onto the page. Each chapter felt like a monumental achievement, and with every passing week, the finish line seemed to grow closer and closer. I could practically envision the book launch, the signings, the interviews. It all felt so tantalizingly within reach. But then, life happened. Work demands increased, family obligations piled up, and before I knew it, my once sacred writing time was being gradually chipped away. The doubts crept in, whispering insidiously in my ear. Were you kidding? You're never going to finish this book. You don't have what it takes. Those whispers became harder and harder to ignore, and soon enough, my once blazing determination had been reduced to a flickering ember. The book project languished, gathering metaphorical dust on my hard drive as I found myself succumbing to the all too familiar cycle of starting strong, but failing to follow through. Can you see yourself in that story? Have you ever experienced that soul-crushing disappointment of letting your dreams and goals slip through your fingers, despite your best intentions? If so, you're certainly not alone. It's one of the most common human experiences, transcending age, background, or ambition. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. You have the power to break free from that cycle of starting strong but losing momentum. You can cultivate the mindset, the habits, and the strategies necessary to stick to your goals, no matter how lofty or seemingly unattainable they may be. That's what we're here to explore today. The 5 essential keys to unwavering commitment, relentless perseverance, and ultimate goal achievement. By the end of our time together, you'll walk away with a renewed sense of purpose, a rekindled fire in your belly, and a comprehensive toolbox to help you stay the course no matter what obstacles or doubts may arise. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to finally break through those self-imposed limitations and conquer the dreams that have been burning inside you for far too long? Are you prepared to learn the secrets of those rare individuals who seem to possess an almost supernatural ability to follow through on their goals, no matter what life throws their way? If your answer is a resounding yes, then let's dive in. The first key to sticking to your goals, the foundational pillar upon which all else rests, is the power of unwavering commitment. Without a deep, resolute commitment to your dreams and ambitions, even the best laid plans and strategies will ultimately crumble under the weight of life's inevitable challenges and distractions. Commitment is more than just a fleeting burst of motivation or a passing fancy. It's a conscious choice a declaration to yourself and the universe that you are all in, no matter what obstacles may arise. It's a mindset shift that transforms your goals from mere wishes into non-negotiable priorities around which you will organize and align every aspect of your life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Easier said than done, right? How can I possibly cultivate that level of commitment when my motivation is constantly ebbing and flowing, when distractions and temptations are lurking around every corner? Fair question, and one that I'll address in depth. But first, let me share a story that perfectly illustrates the transformative power of true commitment. Many of you are probably familiar with the name Oprah Winfrey. She's a billionaire media mogul, a cultural icon, and one of the most influential figures of our time. But her story didn't begin with wealth or fame. Far from it. Oprah was born into poverty, raised by a teenage single mother in the deeply segregated South. She endured unimaginable hardships, including abuse, neglect, and discrimination that would have crushed the spirits of most. Yet, despite these overwhelming obstacles, Oprah harbored an unwavering commitment to her dreams of success and empowerment. She refused to let her circumstances dictate her destiny, instead channeling every ounce of her being into pursuing her passions and ambitions. This commitment manifested itself in countless ways, both big and small. It was present in the way she excelled academically, earning a full scholarship to college despite her impoverished upbringing. It shone through in her relentless pursuit of media jobs, undeterred by countless rejections and setbacks along the way. And it was on full display when she took a fledgling talk show in Chicago and transformed it into a global phenomenon, all through sheer force of will and an uncompromising commitment to excellence. Oprah's story is a testament to the fact that commitment isn't just a mindset. It's a way of life, a guiding force that influences every decision, every action, and every interaction. When you are truly committed to a goal, you don't just give it lip service or half-hearted effort. You live and breathe it, making sacrifices and tough choices that align with your ultimate vision. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but Oprah's an exceptional case. Most of us don't have that level of drive or determination. And sure, Oprah's achievements are extraordinary. But here's the thing. The power of commitment isn't reserved for a select few. It's a force that lives within each and every one of us, waiting to be unleashed. Let me give you a more relatable example. How many of you have ever witnessed a friend or family member completely transform their life through sheer force of will? Maybe it was a dramatic weight loss journey, overcoming a debilitating addiction, or pulling themselves out of a deep financial hole. Raise your hands if you've seen this kind of transformation firsthand. I see those hands, and I guarantee you that in every single one of those cases, the common denominator was an unwavering commitment to their goal. It wasn't about having superhuman willpower or exceptional talents. It was about making a firm decision, a soul-deep commitment to see their ambition through the bitter end, no matter what. That's the beauty of commitment. It's an equal opportunity principle. It doesn't discriminate based on background, resources, or innate abilities. All it requires is a steadfast determination and a willingness to align your thoughts, actions, and habits in service of your goals. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. But Justin, how do I actually cultivate that level of commitment? How do I transform my fleeting desires into a burning, unshakable resolve? Excellent question, and one that we'll dive into next. Because the truth is, commitment isn't something that just magically appears. It's a muscle that must be consistently exercised and strengthened over time. And like any muscle, there are specific techniques and strategies you can employ to build it up. One of the most powerful is deeply ingrain your why. The core reasons and motivations behind your goals. Why are these ambitions so important to you? How will achieving them improve your life and the lives of those around you? What will it mean for your sense of purpose, your legacy, your contribution to the world? When you can connect to that deeper why on a profound, visceral level, it becomes infinitely easier to stay committed, even when the going gets tough. Your goals transcend mere desires or whims, becoming inextricably linked to your core values and the very essence of who you are. Another key strategy is to consistently visualize and embody your future success. Don't just passively dream about your goals. Actively imagine yourself having already achieved them. Feel the emotions, the sense of pride and accomplishment. See yourself living that reality in vivid detail. The more you can make that future tangible in your mind's eye, the more you'll be driven to bring it into existence. But perhaps most importantly, you must be willing to make sacrifices and tough choices that align with your commitments. Goal achievement isn't a passive endeavor. It requires proactively stripping away distractions, temptations, and anything that might derail your progress. It means saying no to things that don't serve your ultimate vision, even when it's uncomfortable. Or, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Cultivating true commitment is challenging, demanding work. It requires constant vigilance, self-discipline, and a willingness to push through discomfort and resistance. But here's the thing. Anything worth achieving in this life requires that level of devotion and perseverance. The greatest accomplishments, the most fulfilling lives, are built upon a foundation of unwavering commitment. So I leave you with this. If you can tap into that limitless well of commitment that lives within you, if you can harness its power and align it with your deepest goals and ambitions, there is no dream too lofty, no summit too high to scale. The only boundaries are the ones you impose upon yourself. Commit fully, commit deeply, and watch as the impossible becomes not only possible, but inevitable. That's the power you hold within you, a power that will propel you towards your greatest victories and successes. All right, let's be honest for a moment. How many of you have experienced this scenario before? You start a new goal or project with unshakable commitment and enthusiasm, full of grand visions of success. But after a few weeks or months, the daily grind sets in. Distractions and temptations begin chipping away at your resolve. Slowly but surely, your once zealous commitment withers, leaving you feeling frustrated, disappointed, and right back where you started. I see those knowing nods out there. We've all been there, haven't we? Committing to a goal is one thing, but consistently following through, despite the inevitable obstacles and bumps in the road, that's an entirely different beast to conquer. Which brings me to the second essential key for sticking to your goals over the long haul: the power of discipline. Now, I know the word discipline might conjure up unpleasant images of deprivation, rigidity, and an overall joyless existence. But I'm here to reframe that perception, because true discipline isn't about harsh restrictions or militaristic self-denial. It's about cultivating the mental toughness, the steadfast habits, and the focused determination to stay the course no matter what life throws your way. Discipline is the bridge that spans the gap between your loftiest ambitions and their manifestation into reality. It's the connective tissue that transforms big dreams into tangible, measurable progress day after day, week after week. Without discipline, even the most well-intentioned goals are reduced to mere fantasies, unfulfilled wishes left to gather dust on the shelf of some day. Let me share a powerful example that really drives this point home. How many of you are familiar with the name David Goggins? For those who aren't, Goggins is a former Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, an all-around embodiment of mental toughness and discipline. This man's story is nothing short of incredible. He went from a deeply troubled childhood plagued by poverty, racism, and abuse to becoming one of the most elite warriors on the planet through sheer force of will and an unwavering commitment to self. During the brutal SEAL training regimen, a process designed to weed out all but the strongest and most resilient, Goggins refused to quit or make excuses, despite enduring unimaginable physical and mental anguish. When his body was broken and his mind screamed for relief, he doubled down on his discipline, digging deeper than most could ever fathom. And that same ethos of discipline is carried over into his post-military endeavors. Goggins has completed mind-bending feats of endurance, like running 205 miles nonstop and holding the plank position for over 8 hours straight. Superhuman achievements made possible through his cultivation of an ironclad discipline. Now, I'm not saying we all need to strive for SEAL-level toughness or run hundreds of miles without rest. But Goggins' story serves as a powerful testament to what's possible when you harness the transformative power of discipline in pursuit of your goals. Because discipline isn't just about gritting your teeth and white-knuckling your way through discomfort, although that's certainly part of it. True discipline is about systematizing your habits, rituals, and daily practices in a way that makes consistent progress inevitable. It's about waking up every morning with a clearly defined plan of attack, leaving nothing to chance or whim. It's about proactively eliminating distractions and temptations that could derail your efforts. It's about holding yourself accountable through rigorous tracking and measurement of your incremental achievement. Discipline, at its core, is the ultimate form of self-love and self-respect. It's an unwavering commitment to honoring your potential, to refusing to settle for anything less than your absolute best. And let me tell you, there's no greater feeling of pride and fulfillment than looking back on your journey and seeing the immense ground you've covered through sheer, dogged persistence. Sounding, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but how do I actually cultivate that level of self-discipline? How do I make it a lived reality rather than just an intellectual concept? Well, my friends, that's where the real work comes in. Because discipline isn't something that magically appears. It's a skill, a muscle that must be relentlessly exercised and strengthened over time. But fortunately, there are specific strategies and techniques you can employ to kickstart that process. One of the most powerful is to start small, focusing on building one habit or ritual at a time through consistent repetition. Whether it's waking up 30 minutes earlier each day, doing 10 push-ups before bed, or spending 20 focused minutes on that new project, consistency is key. Each small win builds upon the last, allowing you to gradually scale up in complexity as your disciplined muscle grows stronger. It's also critical to proactively plan for obstacles and roadblocks because they will inevitably arise. Identify your biggest sources of distraction, temptation, or procrastination, and develop specific countermeasures. Maybe it's disabling certain apps or website blockers or building an accountability partners to keep you honest. By anticipating these challenges in advance, you'll be better equipped to maintain your discipline when the going gets tough. Another game-changing strategy is to reframe how you perceive and relate to discomfort. We're often taught that discomfort is something to be avoided at all costs, a signal that we're doing something wrong or should quit while we're ahead. But the truth is, anything worthwhile in this life will require pushing through periods of discomfort, be it physical, mental, or emotional. So instead of shying away from that discomfort, learn to embrace it as a necessary step on your journey. See it as a sign that you're growing, evolving, and stretching beyond your previous limitations. Discomfort isn't a stop sign. It's a road marker pointing you towards your greatest achievements. And finally, one of the most underrated yet profoundly impactful disciplines is that of properly managing your energy levels. You can have all the lofty goals and steely determination in the world, but if you're perpetually running on fumes, your progress will inevitably stall. This means making self-care a non-negotiable priority, prioritizing quality sleep, nutritious foods, physical activity, and regular breaks to recharge your mental and emotional batteries. When you approach your goals from a place of overflowing energy and vitality, that discipline becomes easier to maintain over the long haul. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Cultivating true self-discipline is one of the greatest challenges you'll ever face on your journey towards your biggest goals and dreams. It's a never-ending process of constant recalibration, of digging deeper than you ever thought possible when those moments of weakness and self-doubt inevitably creep in. But here's the thing. Nothing worthwhile was ever accomplished through sporadic bursts of effort followed by long periods of stagnation. Real progress, the kind that leaves a dent in this universe, demands relentless, methodical, disciplined execution day after day, week after week, year after year. The good news? That same disciplined approach, that indomitable spirit of perseverance, is equally available to each and every one of you. You all have that capability burning within you, ready to be stoked into an unstoppable force of achievement. So I'll leave you with this. Embrace the struggle of discipline, for it's simply the admission fee required to access the greatest rewards life has to offer. Stay focused, stay committed, and watch as your biggest dreams come into vivid resolution before your eyes. Have you ever witnessed a profoundly talented individual who seemed destined for greatness, yet somehow never quite lived up to their full potential? Maybe it was a naturally gifted athlete who dominated at the youth level, only to fizzle out as the competition intensified. Or a creative prodigy whose early work showed remarkable promise, but who ultimately failed to deliver on that initial brilliance. If you can't immediately call such examples to mind, allow me to jog your memory. How about the basketball phenom Lenny Kook, who was ranked above future superstars like LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony in high school, only to completely wash out of the professional ranks? Or child star Jake Lloyd, who landed a dream role as Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars. Episode I at the tender age of 8, but whose once bright acting career flamed out in spectacular fashion just a few years later. I could go on and on with these cautionary tales, but I think you get the idea. The common thread linking all of them, a profound lack of consistency. You see, natural talent and ability will only get you so far on the path towards your biggest goals and dreams. Sustainable, long-term success, the kind that leaves a lasting legacy, demands an entirely different ingredient that's often overlooked and undervalued: consistency. Consistency is the force multiplier that transforms fleeting moments of brilliance into an unbroken chain of progress and achievement. It's the unwavering commitment to showing up day after day with purposeful, incremental steps towards your ultimate vision. And let me tell you, when you can marry that level of consistency to your innate talents and sincere commitment, you'll unlock a degree of momentum that is truly unstoppable. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but Justin, how can I possibly maintain that level of consistency? Life is chaotic and unpredictable, full of constant disruptions and endless distractions. One missed day turns into a missed week, and before I know it, my goals have been completely derailed. I hear you, and I'm not going to dismiss those very real challenges. Consistency is hard, perhaps one of the most formidable obstacles you'll face on your journey. But here's the thing. True mastery, true fulfillment of your highest ambitions requires confronting those challenges head on rather than resigning yourself to their perceived inevitability. Let's look at another example, but this time of someone who epitomized unshakable consistency in the face of extraordinary adversity. Have you ever heard of Wilma Rudolph? She was a sprinter who rose to global fame in the 1960s, becoming the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympic Games. But Wilma's path to that historic achievement was anything but conventional or predictable. She contracted polio as a young child, a disease that left her physically disabled and wearing a brace on her left leg and foot. The doctors told her she would never walk without assistance, let alone run. But through a remarkable force of will and an indomitable spirit, Wilma consistently showed up for herself day after day, year after year. She embraced the grind of rehabilitation, steadfastly pushing through immense pain and discomfort with every grueling physical therapy session. She refused to surrender to the limitations others tried to place upon her, chipping away at those perceived barriers through a lifetime of relentless consistency. And what was the result of that unwavering commitment? Not just Olympic glory, but a lasting legacy as one of the most influential and inspirational athletes of all time. A shining embodiment of what's possible when you reject fleeting inconsistency in favor of purposeful, steadfast progress. Now, I'm certainly not saying that we all need to strive for Olympic-level greatness to benefit from the power of consistency. That's missing the point entirely. Consistency's true gift is its ability to empower you in the pursuit of any ambition, no matter how modest or lofty. Maybe your goal is to finally write that book you've been dreaming about for years. Consistent writing sessions of 30 minutes per day, no matter what, will yield remarkable results over the long haul. Or perhaps you're striving to build a successful online business. Well, there's no better recipe for growth than consistently creating valuable content, engaging with your audience, and iterating on your offerings week after week, month after month. So now there is tens. When you can strip away the seductive allure of overnight success and viral fame and instead commit to purposeful, sustainable, day-to-day efforts, that's when you'll begin to experience exponential growth and progress towards your biggest goals. Because here's the foundational truth that so many of us fail to grasp early on in our journeys. Success, be it personal or professional, is virtually never achieved through grand, sweeping gestures or monumental one-off effort. It's the culmination of thousands upon thousands of seemingly insignificant baby steps, hours of practice, moments of focused work, and incremental improvements that ultimately coalesce into something remarkable. The great ones, the true masters and icons in any field, understand this at their core. They've made peace with the reality that their journey is one of constant iteration, persistent refinement, and relentless consistency in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. Their quest for greatness isn't fueled by motivational rushes or fleeting moments of inspiration. It's an unshakable daily ritual, a profoundly ingrained habit of showing up and putting in the work no matter what obstacles or doubts might arise. So I'll ask you this: are you ready and willing to embrace that kind of dogged consistency in the pursuit of your own goals and dreams? Are you prepared to reject the cultural narrative of overnight success and viral stardom in favor of a lifetime of purposeful effort and incremental progress? If your answer is a resounding yes, then I have great news for you. Because that level of commitment to consistency is fully within your grasp. In fact, you were born with all the tools and capacity required. You simply need to cultivate the proper habits and mindset to unlock that potential. One of the most powerful strategies is to reframe how you perceive and relate to consistency itself. Rather than seeing it as a burdensome obligation or joyless grind, learn to view it as a manifestation of self-love, self-respect, and the ultimate key to realizing your highest vision for your life. When you can tap into that level of purpose and conviction, mustering the fortitude for consistent daily efforts becomes almost effortless. It's no longer a matter of white-knuckling your way through moments of resistance. Instead, it's a natural outpouring of your deepest values and priorities. It's also essential to develop accountability structures that reinforce your commitment to consistency, whether that's finding an accountability partner to check in with regularly, leveraging productivity apps and habit trackers, or implementing a system of rewards and consequences. Anything that helps solidify those routines until they become second nature. And perhaps most importantly, you must cultivate a mindset of self-compassion as you navigate the inevitable ebbs and flows of your consistency practice. Perfection is an illusion. There will be days or even weeks where your commitment wavers amidst life's turbulence. When that happens, don't berate yourself or indulge in self-loathing. Simply reset, refocus, and renew your efforts with even greater determination. Because the true mastery lies not in never faltering, but in your ability to recover and recommit time and time again. That resilience, that dogged persistence in realigning with your goals, that's the hidden force that will propel you towards the greatest successes and fulfillments in your life. Now let me be clear. There's no sugarcoating the level of dedication and unwavering discipline that consistent progress demands. It requires a fundamentally countercultural mindset in an age of instant gratification and endlessly fractured attention. You'll be forced to confront deep-seated habits of procrastination, distraction, and narratives of your perceived limitations head-on. But here's the thing. Would you rather live a life of fleeting highs and perpetual underachievement, resigning yourself to a dull, unsatisfying existence where your biggest dreams eternally linger in the realm of someday? Or are you ready to embrace the challenges and triumphs that come with intentional, purposeful living, with carving out your own destiny through the sheer force of unwavering consistency? The choice is yours, but I hope I've imparted just how imperative that commitment to consistency truly is. Because once you grasp that fundamental principle and apply it wholeheartedly to your life's pursuits, you'll marvel at the progress and fulfillment that seems to materialize almost effortlessly. Where others see limitations and roadblocks, you'll cultivate an unwavering faith in your ability to break through one methodical, purposeful step at a time. Setbacks and failures will become mere temporary detours rather than debilitating derailments. And that burning vision you hold for your ultimate potential, it will begin transitioning from fantasy to reality, from dream to lived experience. So I'll leave you with this. Embrace the struggle of consistency. Let it refine you, strengthen you, and most importantly, propel you ever forward on your journey towards the realization of your greatest ambitions. Stay humble, stay present, and watch as the impossible reveals itself to be anything but. Can I see a show of hands from anyone who's ever experienced the bitter sting of failure? Don't be shy now. I want to see those hands shooting up high and proud. That's right. I see plenty of you raising your hands because the truth is, failure is an inevitable part of the human experience. It's woven into the fabric of every great achievement, every incredible success story that has ever graced the annals of history. So if failure is such an intrinsic component of growth and progress, why does it loom so large in our collective psyche? Why does the mere prospect of failing fill us with such dread, such profound anxiety and self-doubt? Could it be that we've been conditioned to perceive failure as a personal indictment rather than an inevitable step on the path towards mastery? I think back to my own journey, to the myriad failures, both large and small, that have punctuated my pursuit of personal and professional growth. Like many of you, I spent far too long erroneously believing that failure was something to be avoided at all costs, a shameful blemish on my record that needed to be hidden or downplayed. But the older I get, the more I've come to recognize failure for what it truly is. An invaluable teacher, a hidden gem that accelerates our progress if we're willing to lean into its lessons with vulnerability, humility. Just look at the lives of some of the most legendary achievers and innovators throughout history. Their paths are littered with catastrophic failures, humiliating setbacks, and moments where lesser individuals may have quit or thrown in the towel. Yet in each of those seemingly disastrous scenarios, they found the resilience to persist, the wisdom to glean valuable insights, and the determination to implement those lessons in service of their ultimate visions. Like Thomas Edison, whose famous quote about failing his way to success still rings true over a century later. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Or Walt Disney, whose string of bankruptcies and professional calamities preceded his creation of a globally iconic entertainment empire. Or Oprah Winfrey, who was fired from her first television job only to become one of the most influential media moguls of the modern era. The list goes on, a veritable who's who of human achievement and its intrinsic relationship with failure. Because here's the fundamental truth that eludes so many of us until we've endured that refiner's fire ourselves. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's an integral, inextricable component of ultimately realizing our fullest potential. Within every setback, every devastatingly painful failure, there are seeds of wisdom and growth waiting to blossom if we can only approach those experiences with the proper mindset and perspective. Rather than crumbling in the face of adversity, what if we chose to interrogate our failures with curiosity and intellectual honesty? What invaluable lessons might we uncover about our blind spots, our areas for improvement, our own self-imposed limitations ripe for transcendence? You see, failure shines a light on those aspects of ourselves and our efforts that require recalibration and refinement. It exposes the flaws in our strategies, the cracks in our execution, the self-sabotaging tendencies that may be holding us back from fulfilling our greatest ambitions. Seen through that lens, failure isn't a detriment to be avoided. It's an accelerant propelling us towards increasingly compelling versions of our future selves. But I know what some of you might be thinking. That all sounds great in theory, Justin, but how can I actually reframe my relationship with failure in a way that empowers me rather than demoralizes me? Well, as is so often the case, awareness and intentionality are paramount. It begins with a conscious decision, a declaration to yourself that you're no longer willing to be mentally and emotionally hijacked by failure's sting. You're going to feel the discomfort, you're going to experience the disappointment, but you'll do so without frantic reactivity or descending into maladaptive thinking patterns centered around self-pity or self-flagellation. Why? Because those responses don't serve you. They only reinforce a crippling fear of failure, a scarcity mindset that makes you increasingly avoidant of risks, increasingly unwilling to operate anywhere near the boundaries of your growth zone. Instead, you'll choose to reframe those setbacks as potential laden inflection points, as opportunities to pause, recalibrate, and adjust your trajectory through the lens of newfound wisdom and self-awareness. You'll train yourself to ask empowering questions in the wake of failure. What worked and what didn't work? Were my processes, habits, and strategies optimized for the outcome I desired? What blind spots or limiting beliefs did this experience reveal? How can I take what I've learned and apply it in service of my ultimate goals? When you can shift into that growth-oriented, solutions-focused mindset, an incredible thing happens. Your fear of failure begins to dissipate, and your relationship with it fundamentally transforms. It's no longer something to be dreaded and resisted at all costs. Rather, it becomes an invited guest on your journey, a companion helping to illuminate the path forward with greater clarity and intentionality. But look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. Cultivating that level of resilience in the face of failure is one of the greatest challenges you'll ever face. It requires sustained effort and an unwavering commitment to doing the inner work, to interrogating and dismantling the fear-based narratives and negative self-talk that so often take root in the aftermath of setbacks. There will be times where the path seems shrouded in darkness, where giving in to resignation and hopelessness will feel like the path of least resistance. In those moments, you'll need to double down on your cultivation of resilience, tapping into the deepest wellsprings of your motivation and why your goals truly matter to you on a profound, soul-deep level. Because it's in those crucible moments, those instances where you teeter on the precipice of quitting for good, that your greatest growth and evolution is catalyzed. When you can stare failure directly in the eye and respond with grace, humility, and an unshakable determination to glean whatever lessons are present, that's when you demonstrate to the universe, and perhaps more importantly to yourself, that you have the mettle to persevere through any and all obstacles on your path. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not advocating some sort of masochistic attachment to struggle and hardship. That path only breeds unnecessary suffering, bitterness, and an unhealthy relationship with achieving success. Rather, I'm speaking about developing a pragmatic, growth-oriented relationship with the inevitability of failure, one rooted in self-compassion, accountability, and an insatiable hunger to extract value from every experience. There's no need to glorify or fixate on past failures any more than is conducive to your current growth and evolution. The true mastery lies in gleaning the insights present in those moments, implementing the lessons in your subsequent efforts, and then letting go, eyes firmly fixed on your vision for the future with laser-focused intentionality. So as I leave you with this final key for sticking to your goals over the long haul, I'll impart this. Failure is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You get to choose your response in the wake of setbacks. You can either crumble, resigning yourself to a self-defeating cycle of insecurity and stagnation, or you can cultivate the resilience required to metabolize those experiences, fueling an upward spiral of continuous reinvention and personal mastery. The path of resilience is arduous, demanding an uncommon degree of self-awareness, vulnerability, and commitment to growth. But the rewards are immeasurable. An unwavering faith in your capacity to achieve your grandest ambitions, a liberation from fear's limiting shackles, and most importantly, an authentic embodiment of the truth that no setback or failure has the power to derail you permanently. Embrace failure's lessons and watch as your goals materialize before you. Each hard-won milestone, testament to your unwavering spirit, your indomitable resilience, and your enduring commitment to leaving an indelible mark on the world through the manifestation of your unique potential. Close your eyes for a moment and visualize two distinct scenarios playing out vividly in your mind's eye. In the first, you're attempting to climb a towering, daunting mountain alone. The path is treacherous, the terrain ever shifting beneath your feet as you struggle for solid footing. Gale force winds continually threaten to knock you off course, while the bitter cold saps your strength and resolve. It's a grueling, isolating, deeply lonely endeavor. Now contrast that with a second scenario, one where you're tackling that same formidable peak, but this time as part of a tightly knit expedition team. You're surrounded by fellow climbers offering encouragement, sharing invaluable insights and hard-won wisdom from their own journeys. When fatigue sets in or self-doubt threatens to derail your progress, you can draw strength and inspiration from the collective determination of the group. The path is still arduous, but the shared camaraderie and accountability makes the ascent feel infinitely more achievable. For most of you, I'd wager the choice between those two scenarios is a fairly obvious one. We all instinctively understand the value of having a supportive crew rallied around us, especially when faced with monumental challenges or ambitious objectives. And yet, so many of us, whether through stubbornness, pride, or sheer habit, attempt to go it alone, our biggest goals and life pursuits. We subscribe to this pervasive mythology of the lone wolf, the solitary maverick who rejects outside assistance or accountability in favor of a self-imposed struggle. We delude ourselves into believing that striving in solitude, untethered from external influences, is a truer test of our mettle and fortitude. But here's the truth. Going it alone in your goal pursuits isn't a badge of honor or triumph of rugged individualism. It's an exercise in supreme inefficiency, an artificial impediment that only serves to amplify the mental, emotional, and logistical obstacles standing between you and your ultimate vision. Just look at any truly legendary achievers, innovators, or cultural icons throughout history. I can virtually guarantee that not a single one of them reached those rarefied heights alone. Rather, their stories are interwoven with key relationships, mentors, communities, and networks of support that empowered and uplifted them on their journeys. From Michael Jordan, being inspired and pushed by teammates and rivals, to Marie Curie deriving strength and intellectual kinship from her husband Pierre, to Maya Angelou being championed by fellow writers and visionary leaders of her era, every single one of these titans understood something profound. Our singular ambitions become exponentially more achievable when we surround ourselves with the proper energy and influences. Now, you might be thinking, sure, Justin, I get your point for those operating at the highest levels of cultural influence or professional excellence. But my goals, while meaningful to me, aren't exactly on the scale of winning NBA championships or making scientific breakthroughs. Do I really need a full-blown support system behind me? The answer is an emphatic and unwavering yes. Because here's the thing. The impact and value derived from having supportive people and environments in your corner applies equally whether you're striving to build a billion-dollar enterprise or simply stick to a personal fitness routine. The particulars of your goals are far less consequential than the psychology and game-changing mindset unlocked by the right influences in your life. Think about it. How many times have you embarked on a new goal or endeavor filled with sincere commitment, only to have that passion wane in the face of inevitable obstacles, setbacks, or your own inner dialogue of self-doubt and resistance? What if, in those most challenging moments, you had a confidant to remind you of your deepest motivations and capacity, someone who could empathize, share valuable perspectives, and gently realign you with your overarching vision? That alone could be the difference between persevering or capitulating entirely. Or take it a step further. What if you were part of a dedicated community of fellow strivers, all mutually committed to supporting and elevating one another in the pursuit of their respective ambitions? A judgment-free zone where you could crowdsource solutions, gain clarity through the sharing of diverse perspectives, and find the fuel of collective energy and accountability. That's an environment where progress isn't just possible, it becomes downright inevitable. You see, having that supportive infrastructure around us does more than just provide motivational cheerleading, though there's certainly value in that as well. It creates an upward spiral, a rising tide that lifts all boats through the sheer transference of empowering beliefs, habits, and psychological principles. When you're surrounded by people operating at their highest levels, excelling in the areas you're striving towards mastery, you can't help but absorb and embody those same qualities and attributes. Their self-belief becomes yours, their operational habits mindsets, and rituals become almost effortlessly transferable. You find yourself upgrading to increasingly compelling versions of yourself, not through sheer force of willpower, but by the steady influence of your environment actively shaping your identity. That's the true gift of forging the right supportive network and immersing yourself in ecosystems conducive to your growth. Your normal is continually recalibrated, up-leveling along with your peer group's standards and benchmarks for success. Behaviors, beliefs and achievements that may have once seemed lofty or unattainable gradually become your new baseline. Your revised self-perception about what's possible for you to create an experience in this world. Now, I can hear some of the skeptics and cynics out there. But Justin, finding the right supportive environment, building these uplifting communities and connections from scratch, that's easier said than done. I don't have a Rolodex of mentors and elite performers at my disposal. And you're absolutely right. It's a legitimate challenge, one that can often trigger feelings of resignation before you've even started in earnest. But here's the good news. You don't have to somehow manufacture these supportive influences out of thin air. The truth is, no matter where you're at in life, you likely have more access to empowering people and environments than you currently realize. It just takes some intentional reframing and relentless nurturing of your existing connections and communities. A powerful first step is auditing your existing social circles and spheres of influence with ruthless honesty. Who are the people actively inspiring you, challenging you to grow and expand your self-imposed boundaries? Whose energy and presence helps catalyze your productivity and forward momentum? Those are the connections you want to invest in and nurture as they form the bedrock of your supportive foundation. Conversely, you must also evaluate what voices, environments, and inner chapters you need to let go of or at least radically redefine boundaries with. Perhaps it's certain family members, well-meaning as they may be, whose scarcity mindsets and self-limiting beliefs continually undermine your growth. Or maybe it's certain social media feeds that seem to breed endless distraction, comparison traps, and psychological quicksand. Whatever those detractors may be, creating space and insulating yourself from their influence is a radical act of self-preservation. From there, You can proactively cultivate new communities and relationships explicitly tailored towards your growth. Leverage the incredible connectivity of the modern world to find virtual or in-person masterminds, join dedicated online forums or local meetup groups, or even hire professional mentors and coaches to help accelerate your progress. Immerse yourself in environments where your biggest goals aren't just to me pie-in-the-sky fantasies. They're the expected baseline. And remember, you have just as much value and insight to offer those supportive ecosystems as you do to receive from them. We all have unique wisdom and experience that, when shared generously and vulnerably, enriches the collective growth of the entire community. So be an active participant, a contributor as much as a recipient of that transformative energy exchange. Because the ultimate truth is that your personal achievement and the success of those around you are inextricably intertwined. I'll be honest with you, this is an ongoing, lifelong practice that requires diligent nurturing and recalibration as your needs and ambitions continually evolve. There is no permanent, perfectly curated environment from which to operate. It's an iterative process of ruthlessly upgrading your spheres of influence, your knowledge sources, your feedback loops, to align with your ever-expanding vision of what's possible for your growth and impact. And sure, there will be moments of discomfort as you forge these new connections and immerse yourself in elevated ecosystems. Your self-doubts may get amplified as you're exposed to benchmarks that once seemed unfathomable. You may experience acute feelings of being an imposter amidst high achievers. But I urge you to lean into those growing pains, for they're merely signs that you're being pushed beyond your previous self-imposed limits, new frontiers of potential blossoming before your eyes. Embrace the temporary discomfort and watch as it soon gives way to inspired breakthroughs and self-actualization. Because at the end of the day, you're the sum composite of the environments and influences you allow into your sphere on a daily basis. That truth is neutral. It can work for you or against you depending on the energy you consciously cultivate. So why not leverage that profound principle to accelerate you towards your greatest ambitions and growth trajectories? Why resign yourself to the inertia of limiting associations and self-defeating social circles when you can proactively surround yourself with resonant influences, supportive networks, and a community actively cheering for your ongoing expansion and realization? Then anything, and I mean anything, becomes possible for you to achieve. So go forth and get radically intentional about your supportive ecosystems. Foster relationships, both physical and virtual, with those individuals and tribes already embodying the mindsets, habits, and achievements you aspire toward. Let their energy become your tailwind, their wisdom, your guiding light as you navigate the inevitable obstacles along your path. And remember, you have just as much brilliance and inspiration to offer them in return. This is a symbiotic, mutualistic flow of elevation. I'll leave you with this. We all have the innate capacity for greatness slumbering within, waiting to be sparked and actualized. But attempting to unleash that potential through sheer force of individual willpower and self-discipline alone is a fool's errand. We become exponentially more empowered. Unstoppable forces when we align ourselves with the proper supportive influences and resonant communities aligned with our highest visions and virtues. So go ahead, surround yourself with that uplifting energy. Be discerning yet inclusive, fiercely protective, yet infinitely generous with the light you have to offer the world. And then watch as your potential transcends previously conceived limitations, blossoming into a legacy of impact that leaves an indelible mark on all you encounter. Imagine for a moment that you chance upon an elderly gentleman, years of lived experience etched into the creases of his weathered face, sitting peacefully on a park bench. His eyes, still bright and full of vitality, convey a quiet sense of fulfillment, a profound contentment with the life he's crafted for himself. Unable to resist your curiosity, you approach and respectfully ask the source of his serene demeanor. A warm smile spreads across his lips as he gestures for you to join him on the bench. You know, when I was your age, I was plagued by ambition, by an unrelenting drive to achieve. To make my mark on this world in ways both grand and indelible, he begins. And yet, despite all burning desire coursing through my veins, I found myself constantly stymied, endlessly frustrated by my inability to stick to the goals and visions I'd meticulously set forth for myself. He pauses for a moment, eyes growing distant as old memories seem to reanimate behind them. I was a master of fast starts, explosive bursts of effort and enthusiasm that would sputter and fizzle within weeks, if not days. In those moments, I'd find myself adrift, unmoored, and aimlessly drifting away from the dreams that had once felt so vividly attainable. You lean in, sensing this is no mere anecdotal rambling, but rather a profound truth being unearthed from the well of hard-won wisdom. It wasn't until I reached a point of utter exasperation with myself, of feeling like a complete and utter failure despite my earnest efforts, that I finally hit a breaking point. Enough was enough. I was determined to unravel the code, to unlock the secrets of those rare individuals who seemed to possess an unwavering ability to follow through on their ambitions year after year, obstacle after obstacle. The old man's eyes regain their luminous spark as he recounts his journey of self-discovery. And that's when the floodgates of transformation burst open for me. I realized that simply wanting something, even with blinding intensity, was never enough on its own. To manifest our greatest visions into reality requires cultivating an entirely different constellation of habits, mindsets, and supportive influences. One by one, he outlines the keys. Unwavering commitment, uncompromising discipline, the regenerative power of consistency, the ability to metabolize failure and emerge more resilient, and finally, the catalyzing effect of immersing oneself in nourishing, empowering environments and support networks. Once I began intentionally weaving each of these forces into the fabric of my daily existence, that's when everything shifted in a profound way. The dreams that had previously seemed so tantalizing yet eternally elusive were now firmly within my grasp. Self-imposed limitations melted away, replaced by an abiding faith in my capacity for sustainable growth and measurable progress. His voice grows slightly solemn, tinged with the weight of the inevitable challenges that puncture. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't an easy road by any stretch. There were plenty of moments where I teetered on the edge, where the gravity of old habits and self-doubts threatened to derail my momentum. But I kept returning to these core principles, realigning and renewing my efforts with each stumble, slowly but surely optimizing my approach through every iteration of failure and course correction. A contented sigh escapes his lips. And now, as I bask in the twilight of my life's journey, I can look back with immense pride and fulfillment at the indelible legacy I've etched into existence. The businesses I've built, the lives I've touched, the positive ripples extending outward into the world around me. It's all a testament to my relentless perseverance in sticking to those goals that once seemed so effortlessly unattainable. You sit in reverent silence for a moment, letting the weight and profundity of the old man's words permeate your being. It's as if the veil has been lifted, revealing a hidden map toward the manifestation of your own wildest dreams and ambitions. Just before rising to continue on your way, you can't resist one final question. If you could issue a call to action, a final exhortation to someone like me striving to embrace and embody these truths, what would it be? The old man's eyes twinkle with the excited energy of someone prepared to bestow their greatest wisdom. My friend, I'll leave you with this. Never has a life of profound impact, of achievement and emotional fulfillment been created through tepid efforts or complacent repose. Those fruits have only ever bloomed from the soil of sustained focus, of relentless, methodical progress in alignment with one's deepest values and ambitions. His voice grows emphatic, carrying the fervent intensity of someone utterly convinced of the truth they're expounding. So go forth and get after it. Immerse yourself in these principles. Let them become not mere intellectual concepts, but fully embodied ways of being and operating in this world. Embrace the struggle, for it's simply the admission fee required to manifest your greatness into form. Commit with every fiber of your soul to the visions seducing your spirit. Show up daily and rinse and repeat, riding the scene waves of motivation through discipline and consistency. Metabolize failures and setbacks as the inevitable stepping stones towards mastery. And surround yourself with supportive influences, for we are exponentially empowered when buoyed by the energy of resonant communities. He rises, steadying himself as you instinctively stand to offer support, though he waves you off with a dismissive chuckle. I may be old, but I've got more fire in me yet, my friend. And mark my words, if you can heed this wisdom, if you can tenaciously walk this path despite its arduous and unrelenting terrain, he locks eyes with you, piercing you with an unwavering gaze that conveys profound certainty. Then you'll experience the greatest rewards this life has to offer. The profound sense of peace, of earned contentment that can only come from manifesting your immense potential into real, tangible, indelible impact on the world around you. It's the ultimate victory, the most sublime achievement to which any of us can aspire. With that, the old man turns and slowly ambles away, leaving you to ponder the immensity of the wisdom he's imparted. A renewed sense of vigor and determination begins coursing through your veins as you silently affirm your commitment to heeding his guidance, inspired by the living testament of his own journey. The path ahead is daunting, replete with inevitable setbacks and moments that will test the fiber of your fortitude. But after this conversation, such obstacles now feel lighter, less imposing, mere hurdles to be steadily cleared in your resolute pursuit of sticking to your goals until your vision has been brought into crystal clarity. So embrace the struggle, dear friend, and prepare yourself to experience the triumph awaiting you at journey's end. For when you can harness the secrets whispered through the old man's words, you'll awaken to the staggering truth that no ambition is too lofty, no dream too audacious to withstand the power of your unwavering, sustained